Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Thank you for joining us for the webinar, Hennepin County Ordinance 13 Updates. My name is Lisa Boyd, and I'm an Agency Partner Specialist at Second Harvest Heartland. Leading the webinar today, we have April Rogg, Director of Food Rescue, and Catherine Reed, Minnesota Green Corps member at Second Harvest. Also with us is Andrew Lamkin, Director of Operations and Program Advancement at Cross Services in Rogers, Minnesota. And now I will turn it over to Catherine.
All right, so as many of you may have seen from the materials that the agency relations team has been sending out, Hennepin County has made some updates to their ordinance for recycling. The ordinance was changed to reflect the new goal set by the state to achieve a 75% diversion rate. And the ordinance does not go into effect until January 1st, 2020. But we'll just walk you through some of the different resources that are available, as well as some of the requirements for the ordinance. So for those of you that maybe are not going to need to update your waste systems because you're already in compliance, or you just don't make the minimum amount of trash necessary to implement compost, this is still an excellent opportunity to learn more about the resources that are available to you through Hennepin County. So we'll kind of start with the requirements. So you do have to have food waste recycling in place by that January 1st, 2020 date if you meet that minimum requirement of having 8 yards of trash per week. I added a picture of that dumpster that is an 8-yard dumpster. And if you do have any questions about any of this material, we really suggest that you send them to the email listed at the bottom of the slide, which is businessrecycling@hennepin.us. They're an excellent resource, and they are very responsive to emails about these questions and the experts in this area. So the other requirements are that you just have food waste containers in your back of house operations, and that you also provide annual training to your employees and volunteers. And they also are available to help you with any of that. And I'll go through some of those resources now. So the first one is that there are a lot of grants available through Hennepin County. They range in value from $2,500 to around $10,000, and those are available on a rolling basis. So you can apply anytime that is convenient for you, and there's people that are going to help you walk you through the process of the application, so you're not alone in having to fill that out. They're very simple applications. They really want to be able to award you that money so that you can have a successful program. And that's something to note too with the ordinance, is that even if once this ordinance goes into effect on January 1st, there's the punishment for not having compost in place is not going to be a fine. They want to work with you and offer technical assistance to get you to the point where you can be successful. So there's no need to be fearful as you're jumping into this that you're not going to be doing it right. There's a lot of support to help you with this process. With the technical assistance they do have, there's multiple different people at Hennepin County that are dedicated to this program of the grants and starting programs. So you can reach out to them, and I'll go through that in a moment, the website. And they're there to offer on-site assessments, help you start a program, and also offer free services throughout your time, whether that's answering questions for you or coming out and helping you conduct a waste audit. There is also signage available on their website, and I'll show you some examples of that later on in this slideshow. And then another thing to note is that there's what we call Hennepin County Master Recycler Composters. And these are people that go through a 6 weeks intensive course that are skilled in the area of understanding how to properly sort recycling, compost, and just generally knowledgeable about what that looks like. And they have to do 30 hours of payback service work to fully gain their status as the Master Recycler Composter. And so those volunteers are available, and you can contact Hennepin County if you want them to come out. And some of those service hours can go towards helping you implement a program. That's an excellent example of work that they would be doing. So I wanted to just show you the website just to give you a better idea of what this looks like when you click on that link on the previous page. I'm going to go back there. You can use that link listed at the bottom that says Hennepin County website. Otherwise, if you do go to the website, you just want to go to the business recycling section. And this is some screenshots of the pages that they have. So if you go to the business recycling section, you want to click on the assistance, signs, and recycling grants. And there's an option to request assistance by submitting this request form. It's very simple. You can just say, we're interested in learning more. You don't have to commit to implementing a program just by filling this out. it's a great opportunity to talk to someone that's working there, get an idea of what grant would best fit your needs. There's some varying levels, as you can see below. The two top ones are the ones that generally people use when they're going to implement a program for the first time. And those can be used for bins, for different services, such as training and everything like that, to help your staff get up to speed with the new program. And then the later two are just some larger grants that do have deadlines, but they are for more innovative projects. So if you do have a larger project you want to implement, regardless of if you have compost or recycling, those are some great opportunities to look into that. But like I said, just fill out that business recycling request form and someone will be in touch with you very shortly afterwards. And if you do have any specific questions, again, that email is an excellent resource. And I just wanted to highlight some pictures of the signage that's available too. So it's important to note that that is free and easy to order and access. They have it in multiple languages, different sizes. These are just 3 examples you see here, but you can add them to your cart. They come in sticker form and laminate and kind of anything you can imagine, and those will help you to just show people exactly where to put those proper, or like sort everything properly. So I think that is all I have. And I just want to show you one other thing as far as Hennepin County, that's all set. But for the rest of the metro counties, if you are watching this webinar and you're not located in Hennepin County, there's a lot of similar resources available to you. So these websites right here will get you connected to every resource for your specific county, and most of those kind of mimic each other. So if you have any questions, you can definitely visit those websites, and then I'll turn it over to April.
Thank you, Catherine. And hello, I'm April, the Director of Food Rescue, and Catherine just did a fantastic job of overviewing some of the tactical responses each of the food handlers in our community need to implement to generate, to respond to Ordinance 13. But I also wanted to spend some time looking at Ordinance 13 and talking about the additional potential benefits that Ordinance 13 will bring to our community and help us access additional foods. So Ordinance 13 is Hennepin County's response to some great challenges that have been set forth by the United States Department of Ag and EPA, who are collectively targeting food waste as an area of potential improvement for the environment. So through multiple channels at the state and county levels, there are new efforts being made to cut food waste in half by 2030 across the United States. It's important for a number of reasons. Today, 30 to 40% of food grown in the U.S. is wasted. Food waste is the largest component of landfill, and landfills are the 3rd largest producer of methane in the United States. And so we know this is a really important issue to address. Thankfully, our network has been incredibly responsive in accessing foods that are available that would otherwise go to waste if our programs didn't exist. So we're thrilled to be able to report significant success accessing foods that were not used for their intended purpose, but were repurposed through the Food Rescue Program by our network of partners here in Second Harvest Heartland area. As you can see from this chart, our program is massive and it continues to grow, and it captures multiple categories from multiple donors. We work comprehensively with retail partners today, but our program is expanding. And in the last couple of years together, we've been able to divert what would be almost 40 million pounds of foods that could have been headed to landfills. So we're a bit ahead of the curve, if you will, in terms of the goals of Hennepin County's Ordinance 13. There's still a lot of opportunity out there for us. And in the last couple of months, we've been investigating where additional food resources are. The National Resources Defense Council did some analysis at a few different cities, and we're using Denver here as a good proxy to indicate what kinds of potential there might be remaining in our areas here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and other areas around the metro area that would look similar to Denver. As you can see from the pie chart, the pie that's representing grocers and markets is 11% of the total waste being generated in Denver. And here, waste means that the food wasn't used for its intended purpose, not necessarily that it ended up in a landfill. But when these organizations, other food service providers, measure the amount of foods that they aren't using for intended purpose, for a grocery store that would be selling it to a customer, for a hospitality industry that might mean serving it to a customer that's coming in, they've identify these areas of potential. And so if today Second Harvest Heartland and all of our network partners are able to achieve a 40 million pound recovery from what's an 11% piece of the pie, you can imagine how significant the potential opportunity remains in our communities. So we've been doing some really interesting work to understand more about these additional food service providers. But of course, they are also food handlers that many of which are looking at additional ways that they too can better manage the foods that are still good, that can still be used by our community, and otherwise don't end up in landfill and or compost. As Ordinance 13 will help us see, there are new partners that are interested in interacting with our network in order to address these opportunities. According to USDA and EPA, the very best thing that anyone who's a food handler can do, organizations that are generating food waste, they can reduce the source, they can make less, they can buy less, they can put less on the shelves, and they certainly will make every effort to do that. But we also know, because of our history working with food handlers, that many of those options are already underway to the best of their ability. And the very next best thing that anyone can do with good food that isn't used for its intended purpose is to repurpose it by sending it to the Hunger Relief Network, which is, of course, the fantastic work that you guys are doing. So we know that we are a high priority new partner for many of the organizations that are looking at how they might respond to Ordinance 13. And so we wanted to provide a little bit more information on how these changes that are being supported by the county can help you consider rounding out your access points to new foods and to more foods that you may already be receiving. Historically, Second Harvest Heartland has been in the role of helping to make this connection. Today, our food rescue program, like I stated, already captures nearly 40 million pounds a year. 40% of those pounds are collected by our fleet of drivers at about 15% of the stores. And those pounds that enter our trucks either come back to Second Harvest Heartland and redistribute out to agency partners through the inventory, or, and what's more exciting going forward, 60% of the pounds are collected directly by agency partners right in the community, keeping those foods fresh and local. The more pounds we can help you connect to locally, the more foods you'll be able to provide for no additional handling costs, aside from the incredible work that you do with your volunteers and your own fleets to make those collections, but no additional charge for the food itself, and that can be made available to families. Of course, as you expand into accessing these foods at a greater capacity, either through existing relationships or new ones, we know that the results will continue to grow. Today, we're already capturing 25 million miles, or capturing the equivalent of 25 million miles driven by an average passenger vehicle, and that's a huge impact. We'd really like to see that impact grow, and we'd like to continue to be the answer for many other additional new partners that are looking for better ways to use the food that they would otherwise have to find other avenues for. As we continue to help you access these foods, we know that these are resources that are greatly appreciated by the participants, that are turned into very colorful, nutritious, and high variety meals, and that they can really help our agency partners access resources at a low cost that are local in the community and help to create a comprehensive approach to resolving hunger locally. We also are aware that as you continue to advance your programming in food rescue, it will require that you've been thoughtful and create processes to best manage at the lowest impact to your organization, the handling, the responsibility of culling through the product, and of course, managing the costs of waste yourself. So as we, as a network, look at the incredible opportunities in front of us and growing as a result of interested donors and Hennepin County's Ordinance 13, we'd like to work with you to ensure that we're being thoughtful about recognizing the impacts on your organizations, bringing you resources and suggestions for methods that you can employ to better manage those products yourself and lower the waste costs that you're managing, and share out best practices to the group. So a few questions that we would love to help you respond to, or have information or build information that we can respond to, include those that are listed on the slide here. Helping to understand what your current cost of managing food rescue waste is, what percentage of those waste costs are due to surpluses that we might be able to help suggest additional pathways of distribution for, which percentage of those waste costs are due to poor product condition when you're receiving it that we might be able to respond to by working closely with donors to improve the items that they're donating, and other information that we can go back to the counties with as a network to continue to advancing their support to achieve these ultimate goals that we're all participating together to solve. I'm going to hand it back to Lisa, and she'll turn it over to Andrew.
Thanks, April. All right, Andrew, you're up.
Thanks. Like Lisa introduced me before, my name is Andrew Lampkin. I'm the Director of Operations and Program Advancement across Services in Rogers. And I'm here today to talk about what we've done as an agency, or currently doing and have done in the past with organic recycling and also interacting with Hennepin County. As an agency, we have actually applied for and gotten, I believe, 3 separate grants from Hennepin County, both the $2,500 level, the $10,000 level, and just the $10,000 level. Next slide. So just a little bit about CROSS to start with. So historically, we were incorporated in 1977. We were for emergency services, so food and clothing and housing assistance. We're currently doing practically the same thing. We've moved a couple times since then, but we're out in Rogers now. We were in Osseo, and before that, and then Maple Grove as well. We've always served the same communities. We're still doing food access programs. We have some mobile pantries. We have on-site work. I have family advocates here that meet with families to connect to resources, and we also have a couple financial assistance programs. So on average, we distribute anywhere between 85 and 90,000 pounds of food a month, which goes out through around 1,000 food shelf visits, and then also the mobile pantries, and we have a couple delivery programs as well. We receive between 80 and 100,000 pounds of food every month through donations. That is rising. Right now, we just added a couple more stores, so that number will be well over 100,000 pounds of food. And so what this means is that every month we have anywhere between 10 and 15 and likely upwards of 18, 19,000 pounds of organic waste. Next slide. So up until 2014, we threw all of our waste into the trash. We threw everything into the trash. And then at that point in time, we received a business recycling grant from Hennepin County and bought recycling bins to start our recycling. At that time, we actually did not do organic recycling yet. The big reason for that is we're having the trash company come out twice a day to pick up just the mass amount of trash that we produced. So then in 2017, we just kept growing. In 2017, we had grown enough to, with enough product coming in and clients served, that we worked with Hennepin County again to start organic recycling. At that point in time, we installed a compactor to break down to smush, as we like to call it. It's a very technical term, but to smush down our organics into a manageable amount. And then we were able to have it picked up only once a week at that point in time. Next slide. Since then, we have almost doubled the amount of food coming in, and we have greatly increased our clients served both on-site and mobile pantries through deliveries. And because of this, our waste has increased to a point that we have completely outgrown the capacity of our compactor. Next slide. So we had to do some creative problem solving about what we were going to do. Our compactor actually kept freezing up because it was so full of food. And so we have our idea that we came up with is that we are currently working on is a project to get it's called a pulper, but it works to grind up the food almost like a garbage disposal does, and then but doesn't go down into the sewage like that, but then it extracts the water out of it from that organic waste. So this causes an 8-to-1 reduction of waste, and then the byproduct with the water extracted, and actually, yeah, the byproduct with the water extracted is the preferred way for pig farmers to take it. So we've connected with a pig farm in the area, and that once we get this system up and running, we're going to be sending that byproduct out to them. And so because of that, we do now, but because we continue to unbag the food before we grind it up. If it wasn't going to pigs, we could probably get away with keeping some packaging on, though the grinder wouldn't work as efficiently. And also the water will go in. So the water will then go into the sewage, in which we have had it completely cleared by the Met Council. With this project, we worked really in partnership with the Met Council and a couple agencies, and then Hennepin County as well. And all in all, it's going to be a cheaper and more efficient way of processing our waste. So really, I mean, the main thing that I'd like to say is that there are lots of ways to handle our organic recycling, whether you're big or you're small. If you're small, I mean, you could really just put it in bins and have one of the pig farms come and pick it up, because there's companies that do that. It's just really finding the most cost-effective and manageable solution for yourself. Next slide. So here's my contact info. Anybody that wants to reach out, ask questions, have ideas, talk through different ways of handling waste, I'm always available by email or by phone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. So before we wrap up, I'll just ask April and Catherine, are there any more conclusions that we want to draw from this, or any other information, any thoughts that came up while Andrew was talking?
Thanks, Lisa. This is April. I just wanted to note that there is so much excitement today in our communities for addressing food waste. It's a renewed interest for many people, and this is a great time to share with your community the incredible work that's already being done and the areas where you can use their support. So generating more interest for volunteers to come in and help you cull through the foods that you're receiving from Food Rescue, or through produce distributions, engaging people to go actually out to the stores with you to understand the incredible impact that you're already having and have been a long time having against this incredibly important environmental concern that we have today.
And this is Catherine. I would just say, yeah, do not be afraid to lean on your resources with everything that Hennepin County has to offer. And we're here as a support system as well, of course. So just note that this is something that is going to take a collective and community effort to make happen, but there's a lot out there that will help you implement successful programs.
Great. So I want to thank everyone for watching our webinar today. We will be sending additional resource materials as they become available. If you do think of any additional questions or have any feedback for us, please feel free to reach out to anyone in agency relations at Second Harvest. We will put you in touch with our experts. Thank you.